This is beyond embarrassing. Donald Trump is currently in the Netherlands for a high-stakes NATO summit. He's surrounded by cabinet officials like Marco Rubio, you see Pete Hegseth, and they were doing somewhat of a Q&A with reporters. I just want you to imagine for 1 second being a normal world leader that's in NATO, somebody like Mark Carney or even Macron, just a normal leader having to listen to Donald Trump attack U.S. institutions. Like, you flew to the Netherlands because you want to talk about collective defense and peace across Europe, and Donald Trump is ranting about Vladimir Putin not being that bad of a guy and the MSDNC being rigged against him, or whatever the hell he calls MSNBC. But when Trump left for The Hague yesterday, he was cussing on the White House lawn, don't forget, because this ceasefire that he deluded himself into thinking was real was broken by both Israel and Iran basically immediately. So when he landed in the Netherlands to go to this meeting at The Hague, he was already in a bad mood, and it only got worse from there. He was progressively pressed, like they were pressing him about this intelligence report saying that the nuclear facilities in Iran weren't even destroyed. Last night, Donald Trump tweeted out, "Fake news CNN, together with the failing New York Times, have teamed up in an attempt to demean one of the most successful military strikes in history. The nuclear sites in Iran are completely destroyed. Both the Times and the CNN are getting slammed by the public. Not the public, by you, dude, and your random MAGA supporters. But also, CNN is not the one who made the claims. The intelligence report came from the Pentagon, from your own Pentagon. Here is Donald Trump then attacking CNN at The Hague in Netherlands. Just watch this."
President,
yeah.
If the Iranians do rebuild, would the United States...
If they rebuild?
Would the United States strike again? And I have also a question about Russia.
But I'm not going to have to worry about that. It's gone for years. It's very tough to rebuild because the whole thing has collapsed. In other words, inside, it's all collapsed. Nobody can get in to see it because it's collapsed. You can't go in to see a room that has, 10 million tons of rock in it.
Here's the problem. There are also reports that when Donald Trump was tweeting out, "Everybody evacuate Tehran," in the days leading up to this strike, they began to move their uranium stockpiles. They began to prep for this. So while I don't doubt the strike did some damage, that same report said the strike did damage. Objectively, it did do damage. The question is, will they be able to rebuild within the next few months, leading to a cyclical war that Israel keeps pulling us into?
And the tunnels are totally collapsed.
But if they rebuild?
Well, they've already looked at the tunnels. This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military.
Listen, I'm sure the hit was rather precise, and I'm glad everybody got back safely. I don't want to see U.S. soldiers or pilots being harmed in any way, but here's the thing. What's going to happen? Save this, because this prediction is very likely to come true. Over the next 12 months, at some point, Netanyahu is going to once again strike Iran, because Netanyahu, ever since 1995, has been saying Iran is a few months away. Then he strikes, then they cool down, and they say Iran is 6 months away. Then he strikes, and now Trump is going to relentlessly get pulled into the cycle of striking until an all-out war actually breaks out.
And they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group. And not all of you are. You had some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less. Now, even they admit that it was hit very hard, okay? But it wasn't hit hard. It was hit brutally, and it knocked it out. The original word that I use, I guess it got us in trouble because it's a strong word. It was obliteration. And you'll see that. And it's going to come out. Israel is doing a report on it now, I understand. And I was told that they said it was total obliteration.
This is just so embarrassing. The Hague is known to some as like a symbol of international justice, or at least it's a place that is respected enough not to bring this BS straight to it. Donald Trump then continues to crash out over CNN.
So it's just fake news by CNN, which has got no ratings. It's a failed network. Anybody here from CNN, by the way? Because you're a really disgraceful network. MSNBC, I think, is actually worse. But they're all pretty bad. But
After performatively attacking the media, even though he is straight up addicted to the media, he's literally addicted to doing press. So despite attacking CNN and MSNBC, He loves him, but it's just disrespectful to The Hague. And what's more disrespectful is him talking about Putin right after, saying, I've talked to Putin. He seems like a nice guy. Now, Trump is meeting with Zelensky a little bit later today. We will be breaking that down as it happens. We'll likely be one of the first to it, so make sure you subscribe below so you get the Adam Mockler videos directly in your feed. We do this multiple times a day, keep you updated with fast, concise news. But Donald Trump then begins to say Putin's a nice guy while he's at The Hague, dude. You're at the place where international justice is supposed to be like central, and you're saying stuff like this.
Just changing gears to your meeting with Zelensky later today, can you give us any preview of what the two of you might be discussing?
No, well, we'll discuss the obvious. We'll discuss his difficulty. He's got a little difficulty. Zelensky, he's a nice guy. I mean, I'm going to meet him today. I don't know. I assume we're going to be discussing Ukraine.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like the most likely
subject. Any restart talks there or anything that you might do?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, I've spoken to Putin a lot, and he actually was very nice. He volunteered help on, as you know, on Iran. I said, no, I don't need help on Iran. I need help on Russia. Okay? I said, do me a favor. Help us on Russia, not on Iran. But
Trump is still so naive, so gullible. He thinks Vladimir Putin is at all approaching this in good faith. Dude, he's messing with you. When he says he's going to negotiate with Iran, he's fucking with you as well. He's literally trying to distract you and do a little, like, subversion to the side when you meekly say, focus on your own country. Why don't you place some sanctions on Russia, arm Ukraine to the teeth, actually have a backbone for once? Here is Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, calling Trump daddy. And, you know, this is somebody who is playing a game, I believe, where he's trying to suck up to Trump and get Trump to be on NATO's side.
Marco, maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while you have to use a certain word.
I think we have to join Alice.
Now here's what's interesting about this. I know it's disgusting seeing the NATO chief do this, but he's been doing this for a while. He's been trying to get Trump's attention in a unique way, and here's my little theory. I mean, this reads, Dear Donald, Trump posts fawning private text from NATO chief on social media. The message started by congratulating Trump with a flattering, gushing post about reaching the precipice of something no American president in decades could have done. This wasn't an ardent supporter, swooning, or the president taking to social media singing his own praises. This was NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte heaping direct praise on Trump as he flew to the NATO Summit. My president, dear Donald, congratulations and thank you. It's then a long post, and here's the thing. I think that they're playing sort of a psychological operation. What's more likely, that the chief of NATO is genuinely just a fawning, swooning fan of Donald Trump, or that he's trying to compete with Vladimir Putin's flattery? Vladimir Putin trained with the KGB. He has very, very deep techniques of deception that he uses to flatter Donald Trump, to make Donald Trump like him, and through that flattery, he can control him. So, when Mark Rutte is writing these, I really do not think this dude is just some, like, massive Trump supporter that ended up making his way to being a NATO chief. No. This is somebody playing a game to counter Vladimir Putin's game, and it seems like it's working because Trump hasn't clarified this in a while, but he has now doubled down on the idea that Article 5 needs to be maintained. Article 5 is the collective defense of NATO. And this is like the bare minimum. This is like praising Trump for taking a shower in the morning or whatever. But no, we have to praise Trump because he will actually come to the defense of other countries, at least he says.
You said you would clarify your stance on Article 5 just yesterday. Is that something you can explain?
I stand with it. That's why I'm here. If I didn't stand with it, I wouldn't be here.
Article 5, by the way, says that if one country in NATO gets attacked, all countries have to come and respond.
You would defend countries even
Well, what
if they
did I just say? Yes, of course. Why would I be here? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go.
Absolutely embarrassing that one moment before he was saying Vladimir Putin's not that bad, then he's saying, of course I would defend Article 5 and defend other countries. Here's Trump using the examples of Nagasaki and Hiroshima to make the point about Iran. What?
We not succeeded with that hit. That hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now. We not succeeded with that hit.
I'll continue to update you guys throughout the day, but when Donald Trump is in the Netherlands representing the United States, and he's basically like turning on his own institutions, turning on the press that exists in the United States, he's sitting there with a combative posture, which just deepens the isolation of the US. So when Mark Rutte praises Trump, I think it's an attempt to make Trump feel more welcome in NATO. And honestly, it's fucking sad that it comes to this point where like we have to manipulate the US president into being on our side. But if that's what it takes to not make the United States an isolated, combative island that no other country wants to ever work with ever again, then that's what it takes. I'll leave it there. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe below. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.